Welcome to the Iconic Wealth for Women show. I'm Kylie Anderson, global business strategist and founder of the Iconic Wealth for Women community. This show is where we dive into all things money, mindset, and making it happen. It's about real talk, real wealth, and real financial independence. In this series, we're tackling building wealth after 40. Is it really too late? In the UK, approximately 20% of women aged 65 and over are living in poverty, with projections indicating this could rise to at least 26% by 2040. Even though we're building more income through businesses and salary increases, over 75% of women still lack the confidence in affording a comfortable retirement. Now, these statistics underscore the financial challenges that many women face, not just in the UK, but globally as well, as they build their financial independence over time. Also, we know that divorce rates have increased, with approximately 42% of marriages in the UK end in divorce in 10 to 12 years, often leaving women with either just a roof over their head or an income for a short period of time. Women are also living longer than men, simple, which means that we need to build a lot more long-term wealth. But this is not happening. Why? Well, the first thing is many women shy away from discussing money or wealth at all. Even when earning well, they often prioritise supporting family and friends over securing their own financial future. There's also a significant lack of education and fear around investing, with many women expressing concerns about associated risks. Over this series, we're going to cover in segment 1, is it actually around building wealth after 40? If you think it's too late or you're not in the right place, or maybe you're a bit worried about your current financial situation, our guests prove that success after 40 isn't just possible, it's powerful, no matter where you are starting from. Segment 2, we're going to get into what strategies can women actually use to build their wealth. So we're going to be talking from business to property to passive income. Discover the wealth building strategies that actually work for women just like you and me. In section 3, we're going to be talking about resilience and challenges. It's never all rosy or as easy as social media shows us. What does it really take to succeed? We know wealth isn't just about money, it's about mindset. We're talking about real challenges, real setbacks, and how to push through. In the last segment, segment 4, we're going to be getting started. These are some practical steps for women who are ready to take action. The biggest mistake is waiting. Today, we're going to break down the exact steps to start building wealth right now. So for this series, I'm going to be joined by the fabulous Lisa Johnson, who went from 30k in debt at 40 to over 20 million in just 6 years. Lisa's a global business strategist, best-selling author, and podcast host, helping thousands scale their businesses without any shady online tactics. She's here to show us how to turn financial struggles into multi-million pound success. And then we have the awesome Strawson. Caroline went from homelessness, narcissistic abuse, and debt to global success. Caroline's a mental health and trauma expert, Hay House author, and the host of the #1 podcast with nearly 6 million downloads. She's built a multi-million pound training business and is on a mission to help others overcome financial and emotional trauma to thrive. And then we have the gorgeous Stephanie Taylor. Stephanie went from being a single mum struggling to find an affordable home to building a multi-million pound property empire. Steph's an award-winning property investor, business founder, best-selling author, proving that you don't need big money or necessarily the right connections to win in property. Now she's helping others break free and build wealth on their terms. So what's the difference between where they are now and where they started from, and maybe where you find yourself today? They got the support, the education, and they took massive action. And if they can do it, you can too. So welcome to the show, ladies. It's awesome to have you all here. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us all. So we know that many women kind of hit that 40 mark and they kind of start to panic. Well, I know I did. That's what happened to me. I panicked and then I was like, can I actually turn my retirement around? Is it too late to do actually what I wanted to do? So I want to kickstart the conversation today with where did you feel, where were you before your financial turnaround? So Lisa, you've spoken openly about being 30k in debt. Yeah. What was your turning point and how did you change your financial future really? What was the biggest thing that kickstarted it all?
Kids. So I grew up in poverty, so it was nothing new to me. I grew up in council housing. And so when people were like, oh, you don't have much money, I didn't really care because I got used to it. That's always how it was, living paycheck to paycheck and just trying as hard as I could to not run out of money by the end of the month. And then I had kids late. I was 35. And that changed everything for me because I was very used to having to go to work, earn the money and go back home. But suddenly I couldn't do that because I was on my own. I'd gone through a divorce. And so I was then having to be there for them. And so I had to go and get a job that really paid me not very much at all. It was like starting again 15 years later, like 15 years after I'd started again, starting again. Yeah. And I just thought, how am I going to do this? I was getting more and more into debt. And so I started to think about maybe starting a business. But I didn't know anything about business. So I tried anyway. I became a wedding planner and realised at the end of trying that actually I was making about £1.15 an hour. Like there was no way I was going to ever be able to leave a 9-to-5 job. And so then I decided I had to go all in, learn everything about business, but I didn't have the money to do all the courses and all of those kind of things. So I just got loads of books from the library. I read everything I could get my hands on and I learned. I learned things from free challenges online, like all the things that you see. I was like, I'll just do everything for free. And I turned that wedding business around. But after I turned the wedding business around, I still didn't really have the kind of freedom that I wanted in life. I wanted to make a lot of money, but I didn't want it to be at the expense of not seeing my kids. Yeah. I have twins and I wanted to spend as much time with them as possible. And so I started to teach other people what I had learned. They started to make a lot more money. They'd come back to me and say, oh, that thing you told me to do has really helped. I was like, there's something in this. Surely this is a job, right? And so 3 years later, which was 8 years ago now, I started Lisa Johnson Strategy and started to teach other people how to also make money just from the knowledge they have in their head. Because I realized that actually passive income, making money from when you're asleep, waking up the next day to more money in your bank account is the way forward for women, especially that want to be financially free and still spend time with their kids. And once I learned how to do that, everything changed. I went from, earning £1,000 a month, which allowed me to leave my job and spend time with the kids, to earning 4 million a year without having to do any more work for it. And that's the big thing for me about working smarter, not harder.
Brilliant. We're going to dive into that very, very shortly. And I love that because I think that, this is what we talk about, don't we, with wealth. It's not about the money, really, is it? It's about what it affords us to do. Yeah. It's the freedom. It's the spending time with kids, spending time with family and doing the things that we actually want to be doing. So in relation to that, so I'm going to come back to that. We're going to tap into each of your stories, but I just want to get your initial stories out so we can get a feel for your backgrounds and where you come from. So Caroline, we know that you've obviously come from homelessness. Yeah. You had a significant amount of debt, I believe, as well. Yeah. And then obviously you've gone on for huge success at the moment. So what was your first kind of, mindset shift or action step that you took? What was your turning point in relation to your journey?
Yeah, I think when I look back at my childhood, for instance, I definitely had a real entrepreneur spirit as a child. And that was never kind of grown or flourished. I came from a very traditional family. My mum was a stay-at-home mum. My dad went out to work, brought in the money, but we were always in debt. I always remember them being 10K in debt all of the time. And so we were brought up where we never really had any money. But on top of that, I'm one of 3 girls. So the glass ceiling was already set. So even when I was looking sort of in my early teens about what to do, I loved anything medical. And I would have loved to have become a doctor if I think about my time going backwards. But that was never an option for me as a woman. It was physiotherapy, occupational therapy, or being a podiatrist. And I ended up becoming a podiatrist, which is a foot doctor, so a chiropodist, as people might know. And I look back and I think, what 14-year-old actually wants to be a podiatrist? Do you know what I mean? And I even remember writing that.
Seriously.
But I was very much shaped. I was very much a people pleaser as well. So I wanted to please my parents. I needed to do something academic. So the glass ceiling was already set. And then fast forward, I got married, I became a stay-at-home mum. And then in my late 30s, I went through a divorce. I didn't even realise I'd actually been in an abusive relationship, and financially abusive, emotionally abusive, psychologically. So there was no visible bruises, but I realised I'd been in an abusive relationship. So my mental health really, really suffered at that time. And when I hit 40, actually, in 2013, I had my house repossessed. So I was in 70K debt. I had my house repossessed. And there I was working part-time because I had no support because my mum had passed away in 2009. So I really wanted to bring together, just like Lisa was saying, an element of, as a woman, wanting to be the best mum I possibly could, because I'd got 2 small children at the time. But how could I be there to drop them off, pick them up from school, go to all of their events? And really what I then did was completely retrain, because all the stuff that I was trying to help heal myself from all the trauma and the abuse of my childhood wasn't working. Traditional talk therapy, counselling didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I found this whole other area around nervous system education. So I literally completely retrained. But I was also able to bring in my entrepreneur skills in that and have the strategy to build a purposeful business, but with profit. And over the years now, it started off helping people one-to-ones. That grew. I was full. And then, like Lisa was saying, that grew when I even worked with Lisa and into moving into that one-to-many. So working in group settings. Then I set up my own coaching certification and qualification. So I teach the world's only trauma-informed coaching and leadership level 7. And then we're now part of the fastest growing franchise company in the UK, helping people basically do my journey, learn this stuff, become certified and accredited or get a qualification, and then build a business. And, you know, I'm literally just about, fingers crossed, God willing, to complete on a £1.5 million house in this month. And if you'd have said that to me in 2013 when I had my house repossessed, I would never have believed you. So a lot of it is confidence, purpose, and then creating the strategy around doing something that I love and it doesn't feel like work.
Oh, that's powerful, isn't it? And again, it's just really interesting because the shift in relation to, like you said, that trigger point was family. Again,
it was divorced.
Yeah.
And I think probably like Lisa and maybe Steph, when we were saying about being a single parent, it's that rock bottom piece. Where do I go? I don't want this life for my children.
Yeah.
And that is a big driver.
I think necessity is a massive driver.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got to eat.
And that's the decision though, isn't it? It's like you said, you decided then enough was enough.
Absolutely.
I'm not having it anymore.
And I remember sitting there thinking I could sit in feeling like this and end up probably in a council house, or I could do something about it. And I remember it was the worst day of my life, but the best day of my life, because I realized like, oh my God, it's only down to me. And then it was like, actually, it is down to me. So I need to do that and take responsibility, because I was someone who always wanted everyone to rescue me and I blamed everybody else. So I needed to do it myself.
Interesting. Yeah, but you can never go anywhere forward until you take your own responsibility.
Yeah.
I love that. Very powerful. So Steph, let's bring you into the conversation in relation to your journey, because you've also had an incredible journey. You know, you're a single mum at different times. You were obviously struggling at the time to find even affordable housing.
Yeah.
And now you obviously built a property empire, and obviously you help others now grow their wealth as well. So what made you believe, I know we've talked a lot in relation to kind of this belief that wealth is not for me.
Yeah.
So what was your kind of turning point in relation to how did you decide that you were just going to make it happen no matter what?
Well, I've got to say, it's amazing to be here and hear the stories and the transformation. And I feel that I've had so much transformation in my life. I was a young mum, a young single mum, and life really felt like, you know, trying to push a boulder, a rock uphill. So you're basically putting in so much effort and basically in the same position or going backwards. And as well as that, my confidence was low. All of the things that we've learned in business and we've learned through coaching and growth, now I didn't have those tools at my disposal at that time. And so that's just to set the scene. And you're referencing a time there where I was looking for a place to live with my son, and I'd gone into a letting agency. And she'd just looked up from the counter and sort of looked me up and sort of looked back to her page and said, "We don't have anything for people like you." And it's one of those moments that, you know, these little moments, everyday moments that just stick with you. It's just always stuck with me because I sort of agreed with her that these places were obviously too good for me. And so fast forward, I put so much time, energy, resource into trying to improve myself and trying to improve my situation. But it was all in the wrong, you know, going to university, doing a master's degree, you know, little by little, thinking that this corporate job is going to change everything. And really, you're still in the same struggle. But if I had known what I later came to know at the beginning, that transformation can happen in less than 10 years. And so fast forward on to a couple of decades later, I'm in my 20s. In my 20s.
We all want to be in our 20s still there. Yeah,
I'm making slip. I'm in my 40s, and I feel like I've fallen onto my feet after working my way up, and this, that, and the next thing. I've become a financial services contractor. But it's not really my dream job. It's not I'm a creative person. It's a very system-oriented, logical brain thing, and that's not really me. So there I am doing that, and that would have been me forever. But again, another little moment happened, and it was my mum was ill. And there was just that moment where I was sitting at my desk at the bank, and I'd taken a call from her in the morning and sort of dashed her off the phone. And realised she must have been calling me for a reason in the morning, while I'm getting ready for work. And I just thought, who do I want to be? What kind of person do I want to be? Where do I want to put my time? At that time, it wasn't the norm for people to work from home like it is now. And I thought, I need to do something different. I need to have a business. But I kind of thought business as very male. I knew that I could do a business and have a hobby, but I didn't think I could have a business to replace my income.
Totally get that. I think everyone thinks like that.
The patriarchy in some respects.
Yeah.
And to fast forward the end of the story, I thought property could do it, because property, even normal people do property, and maybe that could do it. I found a way where you could get involved in a property business and make money from property without owning it. And my sister and I started what essentially is a property management company. From there, you get your confidence, you see all the money you're making for other people, as well as in our business.
Yep.
And we just thought, we can buy properties. And there are ways of, pooling assets and using other people's money, whether it be mortgages or other things, to buy assets, to get into development, and to building up, as you said, that multi-million-pound property portfolio, when decades before I never even thought I'd be doing well if I could just manage to own my own home. And since then, we've gone into property, and I'm sure we'll come into it. We've gone into business, teaching other people how to free themselves who are from a similar situation. And then once you start making money, of course, you have to learn how to invest it and how to secure it in trusts and how to do tax planning and things like that. So it's been quite a journey, but I think that about sums it up, Kylie.
I love that. That's really powerful. And I think that, it's interesting if you're watching the show and you're kind of thinking about it, that this keeps it real, doesn't it? Because we can all talk about making millions and, growing our businesses and doing what we need to do. But again, it's just like you've all started from somewhere. And I think that's really valuable in relation to if people are tuning in, that they know.
We're normally starting from a place of desperation if we're honest about it.
Desperation
definitely seems to be that.
Yeah, most people that I know that have done really, really well, it's because they started from somewhere where they had to. Like, they didn't know where to turn. Suddenly it was all on them. And I think we all kind of, like Caroline said, want to be rescued a bit. We kind of grow up thinking, well, it's not all on us. Someone will help us.
Especially as women, because we're taught really to look to men to rescue us too. And, and then I know I certainly waited and waited and waited. There's nothing nobody's
These are good partner now. I'm still waiting for my knight in shining armour.
But it's still financially down to me as well. So,
But I like that. I think it's powerful that if women can see that actually they don't need to wait. No. They can just decide that they're going to go and do what they want to do and make this money themselves, because there are so many people that are financially reliant on other people, especially women, that they're stuck in some situations because of that. And it gives you a choice. It gives you a choice in life of where you want to be and who you want to be with and what you want to do. Money is so much more than, buying the latest nice clothes. The nice bag.
The novelty wears off. Well, for some, not handbags.
It's the choices and security. And, I always think the more money I can make in my business, the more free stuff I can do for other people.
That's it.
And, and that's really powerful. It isn't just about the money. Genuinely, it isn't. It's what you can do with it, not only for others, but also for yourself and the legacy side of it for your children.
Yeah, and I think that's, I always say, don't know if good women earn good money, they do good things.
They do.
That's always my saying. Because they do,
I think one of the biggest things, we're talking about women over 40 here, I think that makes a difference as well. Because I think that when you start making money later, I didn't make a penny until I was 40 years old. Like before that, I was in debt my whole life. You are grateful for that money that you make, and you realise that other people aren't in that situation that you have managed to get yourself in, and you want to help others to get into that situation. I'm not at all shocked that all three of us around this table spend most of our time trying to get other people to also do what we did and earn money, because as you get older, you realise that you can help more people because you know something that they don't know.
And you realise how easy it is. What I mean is, compared to all those 20 years of struggling and trying to get a little pay rise here and a little pay rise there, it's so much easier once you have the right information. And that's why I think we're also evangelical about just letting women know.
And it's the belief in that it can be done as well. You know, we can have the strategy, but I think as women, we lack so much confidence
and belief in ourselves, right? Correct. One of the things that I started doing is talking about money a lot online. Now, in the UK, you know, we don't talk about money if you're women online. Like,
how dare you?
In the Daily Mail, and as soon as you talk about women online, the comment section is like, But the reason I do that is because if people can't look up and see that women over 40 are making money, they will not be able to do it because they have to believe it. Belief is more important than strategy. And they have to believe they can do it. And most people don't believe they can do it until they see someone a bit like them doing it.
And you're right, the age thing I think is really important. I know when I hit 40 and I had my house repossessed, I genuinely sat there and thought, downhill from now. And I used to think about, he's had the best years of my life now. It's downhill. You know, I'm 51 now and I look different from when I did then. I actually look half decent now because I look stressed all of the time back then. And I have more money than I've ever had in my life. And, you know, even my dad, when I speak to him now, you know, he still doesn't get what I do necessarily. And he'll even say to my husband and that, are you all right with her doing this? There's still that element of how can she make all of this money doing stuff online and building a business like this when she's always there taking her kids to school and picking them up.
Would they ask a man that?
No, they absolutely wouldn't. They'd be celebrating that.
People say to my husband all the time, oh, where do you work? How come, like, especially if we go somewhere and buy something expensive, oh, what do you do? And he says, oh, I just work for her. And they laugh because they think that's a joke. And he's like, no, I actually work for her. Like, it's okay to do that.
Because again, it's interesting though, isn't it? Because obviously, you know, that sort of mindset in relation to having a man, like you said, not earning maybe as much as even you are, it's just not heard of. It's just, I mean, I've seen so many relationships crumble when a woman's got really successful. So it's something that I've seen. And I know obviously we were talking about with, you know, the impact. And like Steph, I remember when I very first went to your event, and the ripple effect of change of just seeing, like you said, empowering other people because you stepped up and become a role model. And that for me is one of the most powerful things that we can do, because there was women in that room. I remember sitting there going, if she can do it, I can now. And that is so powerful.
And we're all resources for each other, because that brings me on to the point that, remember, you were the one who first set us on the road when we had that property success and people were coming to us and saying, oh, can you teach me? Can you teach? And we thought, no, we can't, because we're not teachers. We've only been doing this for a shorter while. And we didn't have that confidence that you just mentioned, Caroline. But you were the one who shone the light and said, this is the way, this is how you take your knowledge and make it available to people, and grow it into a business. And then Caroline, you were saying you worked with Lisa.
But I've also worked with Caroline.
And you've also worked with Caroline.
I worked with Lisa for the strategy, and Lisa worked with me from the trauma. But isn't that really important as women, how we should be supporting each other? Just because, you know, someone is successful as a woman doesn't mean there's less success to go around for anybody else.
It's not
there's enough.
We can all have
Correct. There's enough for everybody, and it's about shining that light. And you know, it's like, come along on that journey with us. It doesn't mean you have to just watch us. You can be on that as well.
And actually, don't you think that success doesn't ever really feel like success unless you're pulling people up with you?
Yes, absolutely.
It never really does.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't. It's important we cheer each other.
I think the best messages that you get are from from people who've done your programs
Yes.
or worked with you, and they're telling you of their life transformations that they had. That's an emotional moment.
Well, it's the most impactful, isn't it? It's, I always call it the ripple effect of change, because it's like if you step into your power, you're helping someone else step into their power. And we've seen that with all of you. There's
a really good quote by Marianne Williamson, actually, and I have it on a canvas in my house, and it's like, who are you not to shine your light so brightly? Because I know certainly for me as a woman growing up in my household, it was like, be seen and not heard as such. You need to do this and get on with that. Don't shine too brightly as such.
Don't be too
dim you out. Thank you. Exactly. And, and I think we, so many of us get taught that, and it's really sad.
Well, you have experiences, don't you? I mean, mine was when I lost my brother. So my experience was like, I felt guilt of living, like in a way, in that sort of scenario. I was like, well, I'm still here. And then fighting at the time for attention from my parents, who were falling apart around me, watching them go. And I just sat there going, I'm still here. So for a long time, I wouldn't shine my light, because I was just like, no, I need to support them. I need to be there. So we've all had different experiences where...
so precious. This is not a dress rehearsal. I sit here at 51 and I saw this rather depressing reel yesterday saying, most women live on average to 76. So you have 26 years left. If you're I'm thinking I'm going to be hitting 100. I've got 50 years left. Thank you very much. But there is that element. I think that as we get older, it's not possible, and that just isn't true.
I think that's a really good point you've made about we are not in a dress rehearsal. And the thing that actually drives me on more, rather than that scaring me, when people say, we live 4,000 weeks on average, which we do.
Which is quite scary, really, when you think about it.
You look at 4,000 weeks.
In denial. I'm getting younger every year. I'm going backwards. I'm not going any older.
We can't wait till next time. We can't wait till one day. We've got to do it now, because you do not want to get to the end and go, I wish I'd have done more.
Stop waiting.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, because you always have little things now. You go, you wish you'd started earlier. It's like if you knew now what you know then, and it's like, and that all comes down to education and being around the right people. So we know that kind of money struggles can be kind of, I guess, really emotional for women. We know that there's lots of trauma around it. There's lots of shame, lots of frustration. So how do you kind of combat that to get started? Because obviously, if you're in that spot at the moment where maybe you just feel like life is throwing everything at you, we've all been there. How do you turn that round? So what's the first stage, or how can we actually go, no, I'm not having any of this? What's the step that you can take?
I think one of the first things you can do is surround yourself with others that already think differently. Because I had a really poor money mindset. When you grow up being bullied for being poor, you immediately think money equals bad. And I think that if you start thinking like that, like you have this mindset where money is a bad thing, it doesn't matter how much you try and make money, you won't, because your subconscious will just stop you from doing it. And I had real problems with that because of my upbringing. Like, people from where I come from don't make that kind of money. Like, I used to tell myself all these different things. And actually, I think how it changed was I started to surround myself with people who did make that kind of money and who believed that things were possible and didn't put emotions onto money. I think a lot of us put emotions onto money. Like, who hasn't seen a parent buy a piece of clothing and hide it? Or say, oh yeah, just got it in the sale. Like all the things that people do when it comes to money. Who hasn't had a parent that say money doesn't grow on trees? It makes you think about money in a certain way. And in the UK, we do hear a lot of doom and gloom from the media. And so it makes us believe that there isn't enough money for us all out there. But when I started listening to TEDx talks, podcasts, people where women were talking about money very openly, it wasn't a hidden thing. Like I always say, I think it's absolutely bizarre in this country that a group of friends after work will sit round a pub table and they will literally tell each other the sexual position they were in the night before. But God forbid if they ever say, how much do you earn? You can't go that
That's
far.
such a violent question. Don't do it. It is,
And so I think once people start talking about money, that releases a few things, and it allows women to start thinking differently about money and to be able to make more of it. And it definitely worked for me.
Yeah. And that's why we started Iconic in the first place, was just to have more conversations, wasn't it? It's just to open the conversation. Because again, and awareness, I think, is a big one as well, because awareness is always the first stage. If you are looking at your finances, looking at retirement, it's always about awareness first. If you're not aware of it or won't talk about it, you can't deal with it or move it forward. In relation to that, so kind of what about you? I mean, obviously I know, how would you deal with the kind of, I guess, like you said, a little bit of the blame, a little bit of the shame maybe around money is like, how do you deal with that if you're sitting there looking at your finances or you're thinking, I can't do that, I haven't got it? How do you deal with that sort of shame and start to have those
shame isn't just necessarily about money. And I think when we look at shame and how we feel about ourselves, just like with an addiction as such, it's not about the substance. It's about what you feel about yourself deep inside. You know, whenever I work with anyone around trauma, it's not about an event or a person or a thing. It's about what you feel about yourself, about the person, the thing, and the externalization of that. So it has to start with you. You have to work on yourself to believe that it's okay and safe enough for you to have money. So for me, again, it always boils down to the nervous system. So, you know, we're talking about money trauma as such, and that trauma piece, money could just be the sideline of that. It will absolutely go deeper for people with all of that. Money's just the thing we focus on a lot because that's what we need to eat and to live and everything else. You know, I know when I did a lot of my own inner work, had I not done that inner work, I would not have the business that I do now. Yes, I might have had the strategy, but if I hadn't worked on myself with the belief that I could have that, I'd still be sat there. I would sabotage it because, like Lisa was saying, it was safe for me to have no money. People with money were bad people. I had learnt that. So it was about shifting my nervous system around building money. And I also have to say, I still have to work on that now because every level of my business as it goes up, I have to work on, am I deserving of this? You know, this seems a lot of money. And I have to check in with myself and do that work about deserving and all of that. It, you know, the work is never ending. It's always beginning. And, you know, shame is just the name we give something really to what we deeply feel about ourselves because of our interpretation of our past experiences.
Yeah. Love that. And so, Steph, you obviously got into a space, especially around property, where it was definitely a male-dominated environment. It was very much a man thing to do, was to get into the property space. Totally. How did you combat that when obviously you would have got a lot of people saying, you can't do this, it's not possible? Yeah, where did you start for that?
That's a really interesting question, Kylie, because I really had that voice in my head, this is not for you, this is not for you, this is not for you. But I also had that fire in my belly. And the other thing is, because I was 45 when I started, I had this, the fire was, you have got to change something. It's now or never. And also the other bit was, it doesn't matter if this works or not, because you can always get another job. And with that, I just kept this mantra in my head, believe bigger, that more is possible for you. Be bolder, because I didn't really want people to see that I was going to try anything new, and be a game changer that was, you know, change your own life and the lives of people around you. And it just got me through and got me started, because shame was a big part of it, going back a long time for me, of this feeling of not being worthy.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's really powerful in relation to kind of the have to, again, it always leads back to having to have the belief first, isn't it? You've got to believe something different to the person next to you to make something happen.
You have to make it safer for you to earn money than not. And I think, you know, it's like you have to almost, whenever I work in my groups, we don't do goal setting. We do fear setting, and we almost create the fear of staying where I am is more dangerous. So I have to move forward, because goal setting is great. But if that goal feels more fearful inside your body, you'll never, ever get there. So you have to make where you are now fearful to then move forward.
Interesting, isn't it? Because they talk about a lot of the times comfort zones, don't they? But I never believe comfort zones. For me, comfort zones most of the time are uncomfortable. You're just not willing to actually define what that is.
Aren't we all? We're all really set on a path, which is the status quo. So our bodies are literally made for us to stay doing the safe thing. Our whole brain is. And when you do anything like start to make more money or try something new, try make passive income, for example, I teach people to do that. And they're like, oh, but that feels dangerous. And so immediately their brain will tell them they can't do it. So they can get back on the safe path. Now, if you want to do something different, if you want an extraordinary life, you have to be different. You have to allow yourself to feel that you're not on the straight path. You're not safe to be on that path. And it's okay to have fear with you, as long as it's not the loudest voice in your head.
Yeah.
And the ambition maybe is a bit louder, or wanting something different for your family is a bit louder. I never think you should completely get rid of fear. Fear is there for a reason, right?
Keeps yourself.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't need to be the loudest voice.
But how does that tie in their relation to, obviously, because we're conditioned never to fail either.
Yeah.
And yet, it's not failing. Most of the time it's trying, testing and learning. But in relation to that, like one of the biggest people that they don't step out of something because they think they're going to fail. Like, what if it doesn't work for me? But it could also be
the fear of success. A lot of people have a real fear of visibility because maybe they've learned from childhood that when they were visible, they got shouted at, sent to the room, bad stuff happened.
Yep.
So cognitively, they may think, I want to be successful, but their nervous system is going, no, that will be dangerous. So you're at this kind of push-pull element all of the time. And, I think what you were there saying, Lisa, what we want is a stretch of the nervous system. That moment, I can feel it. But the moment it dips into a stress and we go into a survival response, we stop doing anything. So it's really just tracking our sensations all the time with what we're doing, which sometimes means slowing down. But if we slow down, we're actually speeding up in the long run. I think sometimes we live in a society where we want everything now or yesterday.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Whereas actually, if you want to build a business, you've got to build a really strong foundation because you want to build on the wealth and not just come in, earn that, because you might lose it. And we see it all the time. People come in, earn a load of money, then they lose it, and then that's it. So, it is about the strategy side of it and the foundational side of it and stretching yourself, because it will feel scary. But don't stress it where you'll just do nothing then, because that becomes really dangerous and you just sabotage yourself then.
Yeah. And it's interesting in relation to kind of the building the foundations, because obviously we are in a society of instant gratification. There's no two ways about it. Half the people don't. I was talking to a guy the other day who runs a really successful landscape business. He said no one wants to work anymore. They don't want to do any hard work. They're not interested. It's like we want instant gratification.
It's what the YouTubers do, they?
Yeah. To be fair, I said to him, well, to be fair, I'd be looking at probably getting out of your business in the next year or so, because you aren't going to have staff because they just don't want to do any hard type of graft. But a lot of it was around instant gratification. He was talking about that they feel like they're not getting the quick wins anymore.
It's a dopamine rush. They want the dopamine rush because if you look in their lives, what else do they have? And it's really sad, really, that if we think the instant gratification is our only dopamine rush that we're having in our life, and we need to look at what else we're doing in our life as well.
And don't you think that if you could give entrepreneurs or business owners anything, it would be the trait of patience?
Yeah.
Just have patience.
Yes.
Most things will work if you just did them for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But people
Consistent change.
I must admit, I don't have much patience. I'm not good for that.
I don't think many of us do, but you learn to have.
But I do help my clients do that, because most of the time it's like you said.
Well, that's the main thing then.
Yes, I know. And I'm not so good at doing it for myself, everyone else. Because again, like they do one thing and then they go, and this is what I never understand, is they do one thing and then it works. And then it's like, and then they stop and they go off and do something else.
But that comes down to the trauma, because all of a sudden they relate the success with something that usually comes from their childhood. So the number of people you see doing really well in their business, and then you think, you've just changed niche. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Well, it's because it's being successful and visible, and that's scary. So now I'm going to sabotage that, and I'm going to build up more cortisol, because many people are addicted to cortisol in their body. So I'm going to create struggle again, because I'm addicted to struggle.
Yeah.
You can be addicted to struggle. I think I was addicted to struggle.
Different moments like that for sure. Yeah.
It's very common.
Yeah. And coming from a sales background doesn't help, because the sales background, you are on it like literally. Dopamine hit. And you have to be to hit targets. It's like you've got to start from zero again, then you're back around again. So for a long time I struggled with that. I had to rebalance things out. So thanks so much, ladies. This has been a real start to the segment in relation to getting that feeling going, getting the understanding of like what was the trigger points to get you started, to get you shifting and get you moving in relation to creating it. So, and your stories really prove that no matter where you start from, financial freedom is possible. It's never too late to build wealth. And if they can do it, the normal everyday people around this table, you can do it too. So in the next segment, we're going to explore the types of strategies, the different vehicles they've used, what did they need to do to start to grow not only their income, but also start to look at their long-term wealth.